Senators judging the residency factors of Senator-elect Kevin Rodriguez had examined the differences between the meanings of domicile, residency, and a bona fide resident. The legislative body voted 11-3 yesterday to have Arturo Watlington, the chair of the St. Thomas St. John Board of Election, subpoenaed to provide testimony. In a response letter to a legislative invitation sent by Senate President Myron Jackson, Arturo Watlington advised that he would not appear nor testify in the said matters. He listed the letter that one reason for not appearing at the proceedings was because separate court decisions over the last 7 months regarding the results of the November 8, 2017 general elections, both written and historic record, were clear. Watlington further stated that his appearance nor testimony would not change any of the recorded data.
Virgin Islands. The question that this body must decide is whether my action over a few days in Tennessee to stop my family from being evicted outweighs the overwhelming and undisputed evidence of my physical presence in the Virgin Islands since January 2013, coupled with an intent to stay here.
I wanted to handle things on my own, all on my own. So I tried, but I failed. In this unique circumstance, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it by myself. I needed Kevin. Therefore, I called Kevin at his home in the U.S. Virgin Islands and presented the situation and informed him that if he wanted to help us, then he would have to file bankruptcy.
In 2012, I agreed to employ Mr. Rodriguez at Hope Inc. to set up a much-needed men's health program in a temporary contractual position. Despite the fact that after 2 years, his performance was minimum, I allowed Mr. Rodriguez, under the supervision of the Prevention Program Director, to try to do as he promised. Needless to say, Mr. Rodriguez had to be terminated in April 2015. Contract and final check notice, all of which were addressed to Nashville, Tennessee.
April 8th special election were valid and proper, there would be no need for the legislature to judge Senator-elect Rodriguez's eligibility today. By urging the legislature to judge Kevin Rodriguez's eligibility, the Third Circuit was really saying that there can be no vacancy in the legislature unless and until the legislature votes to disqualify Senator-elect Rodriguez.
Amid Puerto Rico's ongoing financial crisis of a public debt of $70 billion, the neighboring territory had announced in May of this year that they had to close 184 schools. The closures of the schools were decided as part of initiatives to save money, but the decision also further pushed residents to move abroad. Earlier this year, Governor Mapp had proposed austerity measures that included closing government one day every 2 weeks until September 30th, which the governor stated could have included closing public schools for a full day on Friday. The financial comparison between Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands have been reported on the New York Times. In the revered newspaper, a reporter wrote that the public debts of the Virgin Islands are much smaller than those of Puerto Rico, which declared bankruptcy in May, but the article further states that a combination of factors, which include insufficient tax revenue, a weak pension system, the loss of a major employer, and new reluctance in the bond market to lend the territory more money, has made it impossible for the government to meet its obligations. Reuters, an international news agency, currently has reporters in the territory covering the financial state of the Virgin Islands. The VIPD today released names of 2 recent homicide victims. Victim Devon Daniels, 18, died from gunshot wounds on May 19, 2017. Police were notified at approximately 12:30 p.m. on May 19th of shots fired in Barron Spot. Upon arrival, the officers found an overturned vehicle with a young man lying on his back behind the steering wheel of the driver's side and a young man with a laceration around his body, which told them that he was in the passenger side of the vehicle when he heard shots fired, and the driver, his friend, later identified as Daniels. Emergency medical responders could not find any vital signs for Daniel, and the passenger was taken to JFL Hospital for treatment. 20-year-old Hadea Shabazz was arrested and charged with aggravated child abuse last Friday, June 23rd, for stabbing her 3-month-old nephew in the chest and neck area. On the previous day, June 22nd, around 6:07 p.m., the father of the 3-month-old victim called 911 while in transit to JFL Hospital to report the assault. The baby is being transferred and treated at JFL and remains in stable condition. Shabazz was transported to the Golden Grove Detention Center. On St. Croix at approximately 1:48 p.m. yesterday, Tuesday, June 27th, a female called 911 from Richmond Christiansted to request police assistance to relatives of being assaulted by her boyfriend. The victim told police upon their arrival that her boyfriend strangled her and punched her in the face. The suspect, 35-year-old Jonathan Soto, was located by members from the Criminal Investigation Bureau and arrested for assault to domestic violence. He was transported to the Golden Grove Detention Center until his advice of rights hearing. Juan Francisco Fabian Rodriguez, 46, and Maria Eugenia Morales de Allen, 50, were arrested for simple assault domestic violence on Monday, June 26. When patrol officers arrived to the dispatch area, number 2, Bluebird's Castle, relative to a domestic dispute. Both Rodriguez and D'Allen stated that they got into a verbal and physical altercation. D'Allen damaged Rodriguez's vehicle with a machete. Then Rodriguez assaulted D'Allen. Both were taken to RLS Medical Center to be treated for minor injuries, then transported to the Richmond Calwood Command to be processed and remitted to the Bureau of Corrections pending their advice of rights. Turning our attention to national news, the GOP Senate leader hopes more time gets more members on their side as the caucus works to line up support for a stalled health care bill. The goal is getting a new draft of the bill in place by Friday before July 4th recess. Emily Schmidt has more on what it would take for these Republicans to reset to take hold.
The Senate will come to order.
The story in the Senate Wednesday is what you don't see.
We know that we cannot afford to delay on this issue.
No vote on the Republican-backed health care legislation, none scheduled, as deal-making keeps the bill behind closed doors.
The leadership, I think, is trying to get the members to come together and have something agreed to by the time we leave on Friday.
So far, easier said than done. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has not found details on issues like opioid funding, Medicaid expansion phase-out, and health spending account flexibility to win enough conservatives and moderates to get 50 votes.
This should not be a Republican plan. It should not be a Democrat plan. It should be an American plan which puts patients first.
Throw away this mantra of repeal Obamacare and work with us.
We've given ourselves a little bit more time to make it perfect.
President Trump, speaking at an energy roundtable, expressed confidence in the bill while calling its passage tough.
I think we're going to get at least very close, and I think we're going to get it over the line.
With the vote delay, lawmakers returning to their districts face what a new poll shows are skeptical voters. According to the NPR PBS NewsHour Marist survey, fewer than 1 in 5 Americans approve of the Republican Senate health care bill. 55% disapprove. Public opinion doing little to smooth the GOP bill's road to passage. In Washington, I'm Emily Schmidt.
And welcome back. The Virgin Islands Democratic Party State Chair, Donna Christensen, commended the Virgin Islands government and the Lieutenant Governor's office for making the changes necessary to avoid fraud and to block participation by those connected to problems with past property auctions. In a letter Christensen submitted, she further explained that she had listened to concerns on St. John's residents on a local radio station and recounted historical facts that she stated she has defended over the years. Christensen explained that the Lieutenant Governor's website, in regards to property auctions, verbiage as follows was displayed. One advantage to buying properties at auctions is the potential for members of the community to reinvest in our Virgin Islands home. Christensen stated that the verbiage would be a joke if it weren't so disingenuous. She further questioned how many residents can outbid off-islanders or people with business interests in the properties. The Democratic State Chair declared that the current administration should stop insulting the intelligence of people who have elected them. The 2017 Youth Violence Prevention Summit took place today at the University of the Virgin Islands. Wendy Coram VLA, the director of the UVI Center for the Study of Spirituality and Professionalism that hosted the program, along with More to Life, Inc., Ms. VLA expressed that in recent years, the Virgin Islands has experienced a rise in the rate of violence, and to address the growing problems, the UVI Center offered the summit in hope of regaining awareness as well as to provide opportunities for sustainable solutions and strategies to this issue.
Dr. Hall has an initiative at the university with Dr. Coram and the Office of the President, Dr. Davies, which is the Violence and Peace Initiative. And as an anti-trafficking youth crime prevention agency so close to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, it's really important to underroot and underpin the causes of youth crime with human trafficking prevention and gang prevention and drug trafficking prevention. So as the founder of More to Life, I kind of created the Youth Crime Prevention Summit and collaborating with the university to bring this sort of presentation here. We were at St. Croix on the island yesterday and today here in St. Thomas. My first time to St. Thomas. It's beautiful here. But I know there's some issues with youth crime and the discovery of identity for young people. And so when we talk about popular culture, sexual exploitation is camouflaged in a highly sexualized society, whether it's heavy metal or certain hip-hop. There's positive hip-hop, but certain negative aspects of it, people don't understand that children become what they see. Our brains and our hearts are affected by social mediums and art. And if we're going to effectively look at how a young person discovers who they are, we have to talk about that in addition to internet safety, the digital age, and mental health, in addition to the legacy of fatherhood and fatherlessness in our nation. Well, when you think about the Caribbean, you have the 4 S's. I think you have, sun, sand, sex, and people don't really understand sexual tourism, drug trafficking, and the guns that are really pretty much perpetrated in the islands are not created here or made here. So they're coming on shipping containers and on boats. And wherever you see gun trafficking or drug trafficking, you're going to see human trafficking.
The Growers Collaboration Program wants to improve the local farmers' ability to produce a continuous supply of local crops, as well as promoting healthful food and healthful living for healthier Virgin Islands school children. Nearly 24 local farmers attended the presentation held at the UVI Cooperative Extension Service to learn about this program and a pilot program called the Harvest of the Month. Growing locally, Harvest of the Month will provide a crop to be included in the Department of Education's Farm to School program.
The goal of Farm to School is to increase access from K to 12 students to have access to fresh, locally sourced items. And this is like a 3-pronged approach. It's 1, to combat obesity, 2, to increase economic development and develop local food systems, and 3, to increase students' nutritional knowledge and interest in the area of agriculture. And from the Department of Education standpoint, quality of education. Because you can't learn if your brain ain't functioning. And your brain ain't gonna function if your body don't have the proper nutrition.
This week, students from the Virgin Islands chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen Youth Aviation Club have been attending the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals Aviation Career Education Academy. During the week, students will learn about all aspects of aviation, air traffic control, aerospace engineering and maintenance, airport control, and more. Today at the Henry Rolson Airport, along with the help of several pilots from the OBAP, the students got experience on what it is like to fly an airplane.
Today I've been exposed to a lot of different things, aerodynamics, how a plane works, different careers in the aviation field. I'd like to be a pilot in the Air Force. What made me want to be a pilot in the Air Force is because I get to do my passion, what I love to do and what I want to do while serving for my country and helping.
Today we're trying to provide the mission of OBAP, which is STEM, which is support, transform, educate, and mentor students in all facets of aviation. As you can see, the students have been taken off in airplanes, so we're talking to them about trying to be pilots, but they're also visiting the control tower today to learn about being an air traffic controller. They're visiting the airport to learn about being management, by possibly being in control of the airport.
I see a lot of people came out of here from the aviation program, become pilots and private pilots and different stuff. Yeah.
They learn aviation terminologies and technicalities. We also talk about soft topics like professionalism, networking.
After today, it inspired me to be a pilot, yeah.
The Virgin Islands Department of Health issued a public notice informing that in conjunction with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, door-to-door interviews for a Zika survey have begun. The department explained that the staff members and CDC representatives will utilize a community assessment for public health emergency response rapid assessment, also known as CASPER. The department further informed that no personal information will be collected. You will see teams out in the community wearing bright yellow t-shirts, and according to the department, the assessors will be wearing ID badges. Some neighborhoods have already begun visits from the department as of June 26th. On St. Croix and on St. Thomas, both service will continue today. Tomorrow, St. Thomas neighborhoods should expect to see the surveyors between 8 to 6 p.m. News 2 weather up next.
An uptick in showers and also some gusty winds as we have a tropical wave approaching the Virgin Islands. Here it is. It's still off to our south, but it is inching toward us. And with that, we are seeing an increase of cloud coverage. And as I said, some gusty winds. Taking a look right now, we don't really see much going on. A couple showers passing through some of the islands to the north and also through Puerto Rico. For tonight, it's going to be dry, 81 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, we are expecting more cloud coverage than sunshine because of this tropical wave. Also, we're expecting more frequent showers and gusty winds up to 25 miles per hour. So in St. John, 91 for the temperature, but expect to see some wet weather. St. Thomas, same story, 91 degrees. And in St. Croix, well, we could certainly see some downpours come through tomorrow. Certainly not a washout, but we could see some pretty heavy rain come in and then quickly pass out, and then certainly some sun coverage after that. So for our marine forecast, we don't have any advisories in place, but we are expecting boaters to use caution, especially between islands, because it's going to be pretty choppy out there. Waves 3 to 5 feet on the Atlantic side, winds out of the east 15 to 20 knots. As we take a look at the Caribbean, waves 4 to 6 feet and winds out of the east from 15 to 20 knots. So just be careful. if you're out there. Taking a look at the 5-day, well, 91 degrees is expected Thursday and Friday. Saturday, we have an uptick, 92 degrees, so just a bit warmer there. On Sunday, another tropical wave is going to approach the island. We're going to see an uptick of showers, and that will last through Monday. Temperatures still very warm, though, with our highs in the low 90s.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. Just because the NBA season has ended, and congrats to the Warriors, does not mean there is a stoppage in the basketball world. In St. Thomas, the Zero Tolerance Basketball League had their championship games in all 3 divisions, as well as their award ceremony. Dang, I love good hoops. In a News 2 exclusive, League President and Director Boyd Todman gave a quick recap of the championship games, and he spoke about an upcoming trip to the States.
Today's championship games went well. They were all very competitive and went to the wire. In the 9 to 12 division, we had Jayus defeating Come to Defend. In the 13-15 division, we had Jayuts coming from behind as far as 14 points to defeat Enough Respect Warriors. And in the closing of the day, it was Ain't Gonna See Us Fall defeating Jayuts in the 16 to 18 division. Well, our first trip this summer, we're taking 2 different age groups to Orlando for tournaments. We're going to be leaving July 2nd with the 12th graders to YBOA tournament. The second trip going to be July 11th for the 15 and under age group, which we have a very competitive team for the YBOA 12th graders. The main reason for taking this age group is to give them exposure and see some of our seniors if they get an opportunity to be seen by college coaches. If you want to find out about Zero Tolerance or you have a child you want to get involved in Zero Tolerance, it's best to contact us early to find out what program we have up next. I would like to thank our sponsors for this summer program, which was the VI government that gave us our appropriation that we use for this program directly, and West Indies Corporation that gave us the drinks that we have here for the kids. Again, we have our backing by Senator Marvin Blyden. And again, I'd like to reach out to the public, the private sector and the public that can afford to donate or contribute to Zero Tolerance. Thanks in advance. Again, thanks to our sponsors, and continue to support us.
From Zero Tolerance VI style to Zero Tolerance NBA style, the New York Knicks have finally fired Phil Jackson today. Jackson had been head of basketball operations since 2014, during which time the Knicks went 80 and won 66. To put that into perspective, the NBA champion Golden State Warriors won 83 games this season. But don't cry for Phil. He still has 2 years on his 5-year contract and will be paid $24 million to stay away. And that's okay by this Knicks fan. That's it for sports. Stephanie, back to you.
Thanks, Gary. In for Sandra Guman Singh, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown. It's been my pleasure. Have a great evening.